Well, let's just say I tested out my Chicago shot glass maybe about 3 minutes ago before I turned my camera on. But the audience doesn't need to know that.
Oh, I shouldn't leave that part in? They don't need to know what time of day it is.
Oh, yes, you're right. It is evening. That's right.
It's late in the evening, and we are here for another Is It Kino? It's Mumkey, Aggie, and E-Rich! Where's the applause button? Who's got that?
Woo!
Once again, it's Mumkey, Aggie, and E-Rich! That's right. Now it shows up on screen. We're here for another bonus episode of Is It Kino? Somebody wanted us to discuss a movie from the 70s from William Friedkin, is that his name?
Yep, that's it.
Sorcerer. And I saw E-Rich had seen this before and gave it 5 stars, so I knew he would want to talk about this. But there's something else I want to talk about. Speaking of Chicago, Aggie, there's a horrible tragedy in the Trash Rats universe. Everybody knows we made a fun mailbag video with Rusty, but later that night, upon further intoxication and imbibing of various substances, we also recorded a 2-hour podcast that Rusty was left in charge of. And now he's saying it's too cringy even for him, and he thinks he wants to scrap the whole thing. Like pure gold being thrown away by a troll. People wonder why we treat Rusty like shit because of this. He's a coward. He's afraid of the truth. He's afraid of true kino and comedy that we provided, and he wants to leave it on the cutting room floor? Disgusting, Aggie.
I mean, just after you make this main channel video, you're saying that, listen, you haven't seen us in the same area. I think it's been almost 4 years. Like July 2021, we haven't been in the same room, but reconciliation was on the table. The olive branch was extended, and finally we get together and we really just have a grand old time. Pretty much just as pure gold as you can get, but maybe I might have said a couple things. I might have said that a couple famous, YouTube poop creating YouTubers playing Minecraft in their hotel room instead of going out in the town was learning disabled behavior or some things like that.
Yeah, if Rusty does release a cucked abridged version where he cuts out the spicier scenes, we will have to have a post podcast trying to fill in the blanks if we can remember what was possibly said. E-Rich, let's jump into the movie here. When did you discover this movie and why do you love it so much?
So I watched this a couple months ago with some friends, and I had only ever heard that it was just an incredible, visceral, thrilling movie, and that's what it is. It takes a little bit of time to get into it, but once it gets into it, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. The sequence on the bridge, and I feel like that's mostly what I'll talk about in this fucking episode, is just so harrowing, and so, you're gripping whatever you're near, because how is this bridge keeping this huge truck on it while it's swinging back and forth? And that's imagery that I will just never forget. It's just so crazy. And
I think what makes it effective is that there's no CGI or special effects here. So why it's so harrowing to watch is because it's literally a truck on this shitty bridge that they built just for this movie over an actual little river in the middle of a jungle in South America. It's all really happening. And you feel like the poor actors who are being filmed in the truck, they're in real life danger. And if something would have went wrong, a la, what is that, Max Landis' dad killed all those people in the Twilight Zone movie.
Oh yeah, John Landis.
This could have been one of those. It's a miracle. It was not. But yeah, it's harrowing in a meta sense where you can't believe what you're seeing literally, not just in the sense of a movie.
It's they've got a truck full of explosives, but you don't even need the explosives for it to be incredibly
a truck might fall in the
insane.
River. Aggie?
Right.
I was going to say, it just reminds me of many years ago, probably about 17 years ago. For the first time ever, I watched a film that was quite controversial. It's called Cannibal Holocaust. Maybe either of you might have seen that at some point.
I've heard of it, but what do they do that's so controversial in that?
It was very controversial in the same way that the original War of the Worlds broadcast was controversial, in which the footage just was filmed in such a way for this movie and put together in such a way with locations and the actors, I believe probably some local indigenous populations involved here. It was just so real that people believed that this was like a found footage film of these travelers who had been captured, murdered, and eaten by these savage tribesmen. And so the film was banned for many years in many countries because it was just so real that people could not believe. They had no suspension of disbelief or no breaking of it, whichever way I'm trying to say it here. With the film, like, there was no fantasy element to it here. It was so realistic that people could not believe it, that this was fake. They thought it was real and that they were trying to just put it off as fake. And I feel like and Friedkin commented on this entire project that he wanted to come into it with a quote-unquote documentary style with an exceptional level of realism. And I think out of any film in recent memory, besides for Cannibal Holocaust, which I wouldn't call recent memory since I haven't seen it in close to 2 decades at this point, but that's sort
Hold
of...
on, I need to do the math on that
ultra-realism.
one. Eggy's 33. He saw Cannibal Holocaust 2 decades ago. Okay, crunching some numbers real quick. Probably a good
I think
time
it
to
was
see that movie.
2008.
2005, yeah.
I got a copy of a torrent from 4chan, RIP, and in 2008, I believe it was. Off of
Hey,
like a
by the
banned
time
film
this
source.
comes up in a week, I'm sure 4chan will be back, Eggy. Who could say?
That's
You
right.
can't kill cancer. It just comes back.
So true.
Yeah, on your point of to compare to the Cannibal Holocaust, perhaps the thing that makes it seem so real is to have a large group of perhaps ethnically diverse people behaving as if they're from a third world country, but it's very convincing. Like, to get such a group of dedicated actors who will swarm the camera in a huge mob of poor, disgusting people who seem skinny and just ugly and sickly
I was like,
and,
am I
and begging for
disconnecting?
help.
Yeah.
Oh, you
There we
guys
go.
can't
There
hear
we
me?
Yeah,
you
froze
were out
up
for a
for just a
minute.
second.
I was just saying, just having so many extras that are dedicated and they look the part really adds to the realism. And I was wondering, did they just go to South American villages and film literal
Get some
people
guys
for
who were
this?
there.
But no, yeah,
Probably,
these are
yeah.
all hired extras and actors.
I think the woman who there's a barmaid who is appears to be from like probably the local population. I think she's credited as a named actor with some other experience as well. But I mean, largely you have some of these villagers who appear to be in their 60s or 70s. They have like no teeth. They're smoking cigarettes. They're looking around all shady. Very unlikely that they took somebody, from a casting agency and brought them to this. I think the Dominican Republic is where they filmed a lot of the jungle scenes at. I don't think they were probably taking people from casting agencies in America that age and that.
No, he was
condition.
abusing the locals, putting them in his movie as actors, but also he made them build like sets and stuff, and he's very precise and he wants it to be correct. And he has them building a bridge that intentionally needs to look old and shitty and to like intentionally fall apart as a truck drives on it without actually falling apart. So I don't know. Would you trust the local South American engineers with that? If you're who's the actor from Jaws, Roy Schneider, who's
Roy
driving this truck?
Scheider.
Yeah, I don't know if I would trust these people with my life on this bridge or any of the other scenes, but.
It's pretty insane, and like there's such an art to making something that looks like it will fall apart at any moment, but will not. And you really have to have faith that thing is not going to just plunge you into the open.
Although it would have
canyon
made
there.
for a good scene in the movie if it did, and just hope that the actor lives and change the ending.
Well,
Yeah.
I did do a little bit of the reading of the behind the scenes on this film just because it was so spectacular. And just for the record, there were multiple capsizings. It took multiple months to film this scene. And there were many outtakes where the vehicles did end up just falling into the water and being completely submerged.
With the actor in it?
I think so. Well, because they had rotating stunt drivers like I think when the scenes where that are filmed with the hands like on the wheel, and where the whatever actor is complimenting and guiding the driver across the bridge in this scene, I think at those times where we don't have a visual depiction of the actor, that we have stunt drivers there, but also at the same time, the actors were required to take driving lessons specifically in order to learn how to cross this bridge as well. I think it also played into Scheider's opening portion that introduces him with the robbery and the crashing of the vehicle there. I think he had to do some stunt driving lessons for that as well. He wasn't the man who was behind the wheel for the crash of that part of that opening part of him behind the wheel, but he was doing some stunt driving there as well. So this was an extremely complex film in just how intricate all these things were put together to make sure that all the actors were bringing as much to the table as possible here with no corners cut whatsoever. So I think that just really, it is consistent throughout the film in really the multiple locations. There's no point, although I will say one that I did notice, I believe it's the initial bridge crossing where Scheider is behind the wheel at that time. I feel like you could see the wheels go off the side of the bridge in a way that would not be feasible at all to get back on, and it hangs. They're hanging off there for about maybe 5 or 6 seconds of screen time, and then it cuts back to him behind the wheel, kind of doing this, and all of a sudden he's like moving forward again. So that might be the only cut in the entire film, and I was, I'm being critical about it. I'm paying very close attention. I think that was the only cut that I might have thought that I couldn't imagine that having an obvious resolution.
They put some sort of like an actual bloop into the movie for tension. Probably did not, because probably in reality when it went off the bridge like that, that might have been one of the times the car fell in.
One of the times it went over. Yeah.
And they used the shot.
Speaking of so many millions on the same shot. So
Aggie, you mentioned how intricate the story is and how much the characters are going through, and the globalization of, we got a guy from France, a guy from here and there. Is it too much? Is it too intricate? Even somebody on this podcast already mentioned that it might be a little slow. The opening hour is just giving us excuses for why these four men's lives have fallen apart and why they would end up living in a shitty South American village, and they all have their own little reason, and the opening hour is just like playing it out. Is it too much to get to the real meat and potatoes of the movie, which is the second hour?
I don't think it is, because I think you have to demonstrate how violent these men's lives were and how fucked their situation was and how they would possibly agree to such a dangerous and foolhardy mission as this. And your chance to get out of that situation is what they're being presented with. So they're going to be willing to do something that's so crazy and so dangerous that they'd be willing to do that. So I think it's useful to put those things on screen. It is a little bit jarring going from person to person to person in such wildly different circumstances. It really kind of shakes you at first while you're watching it.
And I don't like the choice to put it in a foreign language, especially when the opening 20 minutes is in French. And this is in no way the fault of the filmmaker, I assume, but why do movies that are mostly in English not have the foreign subtitles built into the movie? Some movies do. Yeah. This one fucking did not. And my illegal website where I'm watching it on, when I cast the movie to my TV to watch it properly, it does not cast the fucking closed captioning. So I had to watch this damn movie in my hands on my phone just to read all this fucking French. Sometimes, and the Spanish, when it was in Spanish, the subtitles would just be in Spanish. They didn't translate it.
I had to assume for those parts that I kind of just got a feel for what was being described. Some of it, is the root word in Spanish is discernible. So yeah, but it was a kind of a strange decision. Another thing, so like I said, I did a little bit of behind the scenes reading into the film because I thought it was so interesting. Part of the reason why this film was very financially unsuccessful, quite the box office bomb to the tunes of double-digit millions, people would come into the film and they would begin to watch And first off, I believe it's about 5 minutes of runtime before there's any dialogue whatsoever. And it comes into
Which that was kino. That was I love that opening because it's just visual storytelling, and then they ruin it when they start speaking French. Like it was so kino.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I went because I was watching Blu-ray 1080p, and beautiful, beautiful way to watch the film, by the way. I'd highly recommend don't watch it in anything less than high definition, in my opinion. I thought to myself, well, this was not exactly the most legitimate copy. I was checking all my settings, and I had to go. I was like, well, I don't want to spoil myself on the film, but I did go to the Wikipedia page at that time, and I scrolled down a little bit. I was like, bit by bit, just to make sure that, okay, that is supposed to be speaking
out what is
foreign language, okay. But anyways, so in the initial opening of the film, they had large swaths of audience members walk out of the film in the first bit because they said, oh, oops, I didn't know this. I can't speak this language. I didn't know this is what this is. So they started hearing the foreign language, and the audiences would just get up and leave and not watch the movie. So they had to start putting a cue card in the theatrical release from after the opening weekend to say, this film will feature foreign language at the beginning, but it is an English language film, so please do not leave. So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, and I could see why people would be surprised and disappointed because E-Rich, this is a blank check movie.
It sure is.
Friedkin, he made The Exorcist and The French Connection, and everybody's all hyped. Oh my God, he's on a roll. The new biggest director. What's he gonna make next? The studio says, here, you're so successful. Make whatever you want. Here's a literal blank check. Whatever budget you need, buddy. Make your dream project. He makes this. He's hyping people up, saying it's gonna be scarier than The Exorcist. Now, is this scary? I'd say it's very stressful. And it's very tense. I don't know if I was scared. I think my daughter being possessed by a demon is far scarier than I chose to do this horrible job on a bridge.
There's levels of tension and there's levels of you're not exactly having a chill time while you're watching this, but I wouldn't say scared. I would say tense and uncomfortable.
So Aggie, do you think that's why people were flabbergasted that they're expecting the next great horror movie from the Exorcist guy, and then it's just French people, like some dude talking to his wife, some guy sits in a car and shoots himself in the head, and then the other guy takes off running.
Well, coming into this film blind, I actually originally, when we were talking about reviewing the film, it was right as I was going to visit my cousin, who is a Dungeons and Dragons game master, and he's very into this. I'm like, oh, Sorcerer, I should watch this while I'm hanging out with him. If we talk, it's going to be I'm guessing it's made in 1977. I'm thinking it's going to be like Frank Zappa, like psychedelic, magical, all this stuff. And that was so far off the mark.
Yeah, why is it called this?
Well, the one of the delivery vehicles in the film that is loaded with these explosives for delivery, it's called Sorcerer. I think that the shell of the vehicle, because these were authentically dilapidated vehicles that were on scene, I think are already village ready. I think in the Dominican Republic, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they shipped them from anywhere else. They had some worn writing on them. One of them was Lazarus, except the Spanish translation, but it's basically Lazarus. And the other one was Sorcerer. And so William Friedkin, he saw that and he's like, oh, it's Sorcerer because there was some explanation. Oh, it was like, this is like, it almost seems like you're in a dark magic with how crazy that it's become. Or they had some explanation for it, but essentially it was because one of these vehicles had that name on it. So
not a great clickbait title for his movie.
I do know I saw one of the foreign theatrical posters had the name changed to something a little more on point, or a little more relative to the
Dynamite Truck.
Well, because the this film is very thematically derived from a previous film that had come out in 1953 called The Wages of Fear. And among critics, when this was released, it was considered very derivative it had its own energy to it, its own atmosphere, which The Wages of Fear did not. Which apparently I haven't seen The Wages of Fear. I looked into that; it's highly critically regarded. And but anyway, I think it was like maybe the French release or something. They ended up redoing the theatrical posters there and started calling it The Wages of Fear to just consider it a remake, just to draw more audience.
Oh, that's crazy. You just start calling it by a more popular movie title from the year before.
I think it might have been like, instead of The Wages of Fear, it might have been like Wage of Fear or something. But I remember
Wagey of Fear.
It is The Wages.
Yeah.
Is that the
Wages
film we
of
should
Fear.
make? Is A Wagey of Fear, and it's us three. We're from all different parts of the country. We all, for some reason, end up in some backwoods hick part of the United States, and instead of a dynamite truck, maybe we have to escort something through Appalachia, and instead of weird natives dancing in front of the truck, we'll have like one-toothed hillbilly high on meth. Can we make a cheap indie remake of this movie, E-Rich?
I think we could. I think, you get a rickety enough bridge, you add some sound effects that make it seem like it's very precarious.
We could just push
You
Eggy
get a
off
couple
the
shots
bridge.
Wagey of Fear. Okay, I can see it in my mind. See, we're going to be delivering in a vehicle. It's going to be the atomic wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, and like
Oh yeah, we're like
hot sauce.
DoorDashers.
Like,
Okay, and we
I
have to
used to be
protect the
Galaxy
food.
Gas. we're delivering Galaxy
go-
Gas that could explode.
Go take the exit off to St. Louis and drive through, an economically impoverished neighborhood, and like the atomic sauce is like sliding around inside the box of wings. You're like,
People who live in the area, maybe like you can see them sniffing, like they can smell the sauce from almost a mile away, and they start gathering outside on their porches and watching us as we're walking on the sidewalk. It'd be precarious.
some guerrilla mercenaries, they run up on the truck like, hey, listen, I need anything I can eat. I'm starving, I need something to eat. And then they touch one drop of the sauce and drop dead.
Yeah, we do like a complete inverse of the movie Green Room, where instead of being trapped in one room, we're white people in a, well, you can figure out the rest of that metaphor.
Would it be called Black Room?
Black neighborhood, I think. I don't know. What's the opposite of a room?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Or Wings of Death. No, it's called Wages of Death because we're wages at
Wages.
yeah,
right.
or whatever the hell that movie was.
For our 5-cent tip, death assured.
Yeah, that's how the movie ends. Is after all that, they take away the tip in post as you can.
I get carjacked, and you find my my phone on the ground with the DoorDash app open. You're like, oh, I'll save that for you.
And then, do we just rip off the ending of SpongeBob Pizza Delivery, or do we go a little more dramatic and perhaps tragic?
Well, I've been meaning to, really record my own rendition of the Krusty Krab Blues version theme song. So
Krusty Krab, yeah, pizza. It's the pizza. Go for it, Aggie. Well, at least we can see him do it if we can't hear it.
Right.
They'll get the idea.
Let
Okay,
me
so
know it sounded good
the
before
Wages of Fear coming soon to a YouTube near you. We're gonna make it happen, folks. Anything else
Now,
from a
with all these,
Sorcerer?
Comparisons, though, I do want to say though that following the release weekend, which I think we should touch on this, it's kind of considered to be.
Yeah, was it
the
up against
death
Star
of Kino.
Wars?
Yeah, it's considered to be.
Yes,
this
it
weekend.
released
Yeah.
the same weekend Star Wars was probably really kicking ass.
People are saying that weekend it was the death of Kino. Like they had multiple Kino films that all came out and they all completely failed because Star Wars kept on getting repeat business, and everybody said one of the quotes I don't remember which critic it was, but there was a quote from a critic that weekend it infantilized cinema for generations to come because people just wanted to keep on watching Star Wars over and over again while these
Is
extreme
A New Hope
conflict
really
films
that
were popular.
infantilizing? Isn't it like a really monotonous and slow movie at the beginning with two robots walking in a huge desert dune? Like, I guess children would have loved that back in the day. I was bored when I watched Star Wars.
Wow.
It's fucking boring.
I mean, yeah, by today's standards, Star Wars is very slow and like takes a long time to get to action.
But I mean, this movie, you guys are, somebody wanted to describe this as slow. I'd say Star Wars has a slower opening than this, because there's constantly a new mob of poor, angry people swarming something, and it's crazy. It's like that scene in Inception where you're in a dream and they're trying to trick the Asian guy, and it's the same thing. There's like a chaos and a riot outside, and they're swarming in, and he realizes, oh, the rug is wrong, blah blah. But still, I felt like I was the Asian guy in that Inception scene where there's just all these angry mobs, and I'm very confused and have no context or understanding of what's happening. And that's pretty much the feeling for half of this movie. Now, am I stupid, or does the movie properly explain itself? That I should not have been so confused?
Well, I think it definitely helped for me that I had to go and at least read the synopsis, because I went to Wikipedia. I didn't spoil myself. It's just the synopsis says like men end up in South America to transport dynamite. But I did go and see that when I was checking to make sure that I was watching the right version of the film. What I found to be probably the most confusing is that the setup for the first character here, basically this assassination with the silenced pistol that takes place. I mean, is this over within a minute? Because we have then the Palestinian versus Israeli scene. I had no idea whatsoever for so long what this had to do with anything. I wasn't going to go back and rewind the film to the beginning to even make sure that I had the correct guy, because Marquez, I'm like, okay, was that the guy who did the shooting? Was it Marquez who did the shooting, or was it Neo who did the shooting? I was like, I was one of those guys, but I was like, I'm not even gonna go back and check, but it came and went so fast. And then the following scene with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is so grand that it almost completely wipes away that first scene immediately anyway. But I think it kind of you kind of piece it together, because you have the guys, they're all there together. They have the attack on the petroleum operation, which then and then we're going to need 4 drivers, 5 guys. So I kind of figured either one of them was going to sneak in or something's going to happen. So the setup, it pieced itself together well enough for me, I would say, to kind of get an idea of what was going on.
Was the French part too long? Can we make that like one scene? Make the movie 20 minutes shorter?
I really enjoyed that part, to be honest.
I don't like the French, so I say take that on out.
Maybe it's just because I've been spending all my time in financially related group chats lately, but when the man can't get his loan to keep his business afloat, and then he goes into his Porsche and starts the end of a firearm, and then they got to run around all over the place. They're smoking cigars and reading letters inside of envelopes. I thought that was kino.
I think if you just started off with him at dinner with his wife, and then he gets interrupted, and then his buddy gives him the bad news about the business commits suicide, and then he has to tell the waiter, hey, tell my wife I'm going to be missing, and then he takes off running. That's probably all the context I need. I could probably just piece it together from there. Like, oh yeah, he's in it's a real financial struggle, and his best option was to go to South America. But William Friedkin is probably a better filmmaker than me, so he probably had some good reasons for it.
Maybe better storytelling, maybe better figuring out what the correct place to place people into a story is.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had more people see his thing, so maybe if we forced as many people to see the stuff I make, maybe they'd agree I'm better. Just, if somebody's forced at gunpoint to watch something, I'm sure they'd give an honest opinion about it.
Well, I could at least say that I would agree that maybe the initial scene with Serrano, Mr. Monzon, and his wife, like in the bedroom, I think maybe that was not particularly additive to anything. Maybe
that's when I was losing my mind with the subtitles, like, son of a fucking bitch, why won't it cast? And then I start reading it, and it was nonsense anyway. Like, I could have skipped it.
Yeah.
Talking about, like, oh, she's writing these soldier poems or whatever.
Yeah, I
guess maybe that does give a little bit of added weight to where he ends up at, and then everything that happens with his character. But I at least more so enjoyed the interaction between him and like the bankers. I don't know. It's just you got guys all sitting around talking about money, smoking cigars. I mean, come on, that's the good stuff right there. And they're all French and all like oui, bonjour, baguette. I feel like my IQ goes up about half a point to watch such a scenario.
I feel like French culture declines the IQ. There's a reason why in what's that Nicolas Cage movie about cancel culture that I loved? I can't remember the name.
The Dream Theorem, or no?
Yeah,
it's not that.
Dream Scenario. Like at the end, his life storybook is only popular in France. Like, well, yeah, it's a culture of degeneracy. That's the only place he could thrive. And you know, if Aggie sees value in the French, maybe I scoff too early. Maybe he has something to teach me.
You know, on my father's side, I am French Canadian by blood. But those are the worst French I hear. They're like the worst of the French. I think they used to be the worst of the Canadians. Maybe not anymore. But
well, now they're all Indian too. So it just keeps getting better. Indian,
that's the other
French,
half.
Canadian.
That's the other part. But it ain't. It's not the kind that's up there now. It's the kind. It's the ones that were there first. That's right.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, I think they were just called the natives back then, or whatever.
First Nation, you know.
E-Rich, I want to hear from you more about why this is a 5-star movie as opposed to...
Yeah, like, for me, the opening moments of this movie after the, like, it's Roy Scheider in this town or village or whatever. He looks so tanned and dirty, and, like, the environs he's in just seem so real. They look like they're shacks that were put together from various, like, other pieces of wood, and... like, it just seems like a real place that someone could be in, and you're instantly transported to this weird... Where are they? Dominican Republic?
That is where they filmed that. I don't know if they filmed it.
Yeah. Location-wise.
Yeah, I'm trying... I'm pretty sure they mention at some point where they are. I know they want to go to Argentina. I'm just like... There's a lot of ex-Nazis. This is like a thing that's kind of part of the theme, too. Like... all these guys all fled to South America, and so did like the Nazi war criminals.
Oh my God! Do we need to dive into that? Is that the secret message of the movie? Like escaping one evil to try to start over again in South America, and then perhaps these scientists and such, and perhaps even Hitler himself, just perpetuated more evils when they moved on. They couldn't change.
Well, and you're seeing this oil company putting together this like. Pipeline and people getting hurt fucking putting it together, and then it like spews this column of flame, and like you don't get that imagery from practically anywhere else, and you see it and it shakes you. It's like it's wild shit. So yeah, you're just seeing all this stuff.
What is the plan here with
I want to say right off the top, but...
the truck of dynamite will stop the oil drill explosion? Is that the plan?
Yeah, it's something like that.
That is the idea that like just blowing it up is gonna. I don't know. I would imagine, because I don't know if I ever quite grasped it, but I think what it is that there was a combustion, perhaps a pressurized cylinder or something where the oil was struck and is inflamed or is being combusted somehow, and so that's what's propelling this giant flamethrower into the air. So I imagine that by detonating it, that maybe that's going to like undo that pressurized cylinder, and maybe it's not going to be able to funnel. Because if you're like me and you've ever poured gasoline down a PVC pipe and lit the end, and it shoots out into like a giant fireball, there's something to that. I'm not a scientist to know all the specifics, but that's my best estimation, because I just don't know if I ever quite got a great explanation of that in the film. I did miss a couple things, I'm sure, anyway, but that's my best guess.
Oh, the budget was only $22 million on this? I mean, even in
that is wild.
1970s dollars, what do you multiply by 6 to get?
Probably like something like 80 million today.
No, wouldn't you multiply 1970s bucks by like 6 to get modern day equivalent? 6 or 7? So it might be like $120 million budget today.
And it certainly did not recoup that in the box office, because they said, where's my Star Wars at? I need them lightsabers, not them life or death chases.
And so you think that was the death of cinema, and that the message that they took away, I guess, for the rest of the 70s and then the 80s and beyond was we need these blockbuster movies, none of these confusing movies that They're in different languages periodically, and you have to think about the implications of Nazis running away to South America. We don't want any of that. We just want, this is the good guys, this is the bad guys, pew pew, explode. Do you concur, E-Rich? Is that what happened?
Not necessarily. I think like that's kind of like overblowing it and kind of using this as a straw man for how things went, because there's plenty of great movies that were huge hits after this, and there were plenty of bullshit movies that did plenty well before Star Wars. So, you know.
Is Oppenheimer more of a Star Wars or more of a Sorcerer? It's got the pacing of a Star
question.
Wars.
I'm really trying to like make that make sense in my head.
What?
It's a
If that's the
biopic,
dichotomy we're
it's-
setting up, is that this was a good movie that failed because this bad movie succeeded. You know, where does it land on the dichotomy? Is it somewhere right in the middle or nowhere anywhere near it? I think Oppenheimer, at no point would you say it's too slow and boring.
Yeah.
Is it edited for the TikTok-minded?
I mean, I feel like Nolan's entire thing kind of just works for the TikTok-minded,
Yeah,
because he's jumping around so much.
a 3-hour montage, but it was so kino. What if this movie was just told in... I mean, the opening 5 minutes is almost kind of just told in montage with no dialogue.
Yeah,
that was
right.
pretty great. Wish they would have kept that going. Maybe there's
Honestly, I
something to
wonder
it.
how
Maybe we
much-
just realized Star Wars is better.
How much could you just completely take a lot of the dialogue out of that opening part and just kind of like let it be contextless in a way, and let it just be, this is how these men lived, and then you just get into the action of the movie. It should be like 5 minutes apiece. That one French segment really runs on for a little bit.
Yeah, if this movie was an hour 40 and the last full hour was the same, I mean, it goes from a 4-star to maybe a 5-star in my book.
Wow.
I will also say, I don't know exactly what was cut. I think the original release after the theatrical release was cut down at maybe 25 minutes or something like that. 28 minutes maybe it was. So it was released that way for some period of time, maybe like 2 decades, maybe 2.5 to 3 decades. But the release that I watched, I think it was the 2013 or 2014 Blu-ray release. And I'm sure it had been released in a full capacity before that somewhere, but that was when it was like definitely, surely the entirety of the film with no cuts whatsoever.
And they said, hey, we went too far. Let's go get that other cut. Fuck what the director wanted. What did he do after this? Anything? Because I saw that his reputation took a hit, as you probably do when you have a blank check that doesn't pay off. But does Friedkin have any like huge hits after this?
Well, I think the last...
filmography.
Didn't he do
The
like
last-
Sorcerer 2 and it was terrible? Did he do that?
No, that's just straight up not right.
Oh.
There is no Sorcerer 2.
No, not Sorcerer 2, Exorcist 2.
No, I don't think he did Exorcist 2.
Oh, okay.
I think he had some involvement in one of the sequels, but not.
The Brink's
Not
Job that
big.
stars, who's that? Columbo? That's his, he's like the main character in that
No,
one.
But isn't he like making documentaries that are terrible about how he actually believes in ghosts and he's trying to cash in on The Exorcist and pretend that it's real? Like, I swear I've seen videos about this. Like, this dude's like a fucking loser.
I think Friedkin is generally...
Is he dead now? Am I thinking of somebody else?
I think Friedkin did a lot of positive works for the most part. I mean, even this film, as lambasted as it was originally, I think they've come around to it to say that it was a good film.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look up and see if he fell off to the Supreme, like I perhaps delusionally daydreamed. But I think in his later years, he might have been putting out some schlock, some embarrassing cash grab schlock.
I've heard mostly good things about the movies he's done after this. Cruising, To Live and Die in L.A., Blue Chips, Rules of Engagement, Killer Joe.
Oh,
I
is
heard
that
was good with,
Marty McFly movie? Is he in
Not
that?
that I know.
No, he's not.
Didn't we
Wait,
watch
which one?
the
Which one? Blue Chips?
No, Rules of Engagement I thought he was in, but maybe not.
The final Friedkin film was the Kane Mutiny Court Martial. Didn't we watch that at some point? I feel like we've seen that.
I've never heard of that.
That was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Maybe I watched it at like Kino Corner's house or something and forgot about it.
I only vaguely heard about it, that it was a good but small movie. Interesting.
Okay, I'm not gonna look up and see if he was in some weird documentary that it was embarrassing or not, but I'll pretend that it was real. Oh no, The Devil and Father Amorth. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. He did something bad. Anyway, any final thoughts on this movie that was good?
Coming into this, like I said, I thought it was going to be a magical wizard movie, but the only magical wizard was William Friedkin and his masterful execution of a classic premise that I'm not familiar with, neither the novel that the original film and then his rendition was based on, nor that first Wages of Fear film. I've not seen nor read either of those, but I thought this film was spectacular. Incredible work as far as the practical effects. I enjoyed the acting, the way that it was paced and shot, and everything about it is just a marvel, really. And I would highly recommend the film for anybody who likes a film with some suspense and thrill to it. I mean, it's not gonna have a lot of psychological, philosophical things that are going to make you sit and really ruminate over, but just for what it is, I think it's
got some expert problem solving that'll get your brain perhaps jogging when they come across a giant tree that fell in the path and they have to figure out how to deal with it. And then the 20 minutes of the movie is the guy like setting up this awesome sort of explosive out of just what they have, and it was very fun to watch. Made my noggin get jogging.
And they really blew up that tree for real. It's true stuff. No fake, no prop tree or whatever. It was the real deal.
Yeah, like this movie really engages what would I do in this situation. If you've ever been in a car that like fishtails, or a car that like it goes out of control or something like that, it's a scary moment. And
the riding passenger when Aggie's driving.
You were not even transporting hundreds of pounds of TNT while you were doing it, so the slightest vibration is not going to cause your car to explode.
Friedkin didn't actually load up the truck with dynamite for the realism of the tension in the scene. Literally unwatchable.
It would be funny if he was like,
all the actors sweating is real.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I saw that car blow up. The death of the Frenchman and the Palestinian. Spoiler alert, but yeah, it's the two duos transporting, and I believe it's that their tire gets shot out, because that was just my interpretation of it, because after they crash and die, then the like guerrilla revolutionaries like come up off the side. Whatever the case is, the tire blows out in their truck, and the
car explodes.
Swerved, and they just explode and die, and their charred bodies are off the side like all the flaming pieces of vehicles. They blew up a lot of cars in this movie, and they were real cars that really blew up. Like 12 cars, I think, got blown up in this movie.
And nobody was horribly injured.
Of that, it's like,
except for the this is once again from the behind the scenes reading, the opening sequence where the Palestinians bomb Israel. Foreshadowing, anyhow.
This would have been what, like 20 years into the occupation of Israel even existing? So yeah, I'd be pissed too. Like, motherfucker, this happened in my lifetime. Get out of here.
Exactly. All these guys were born before Israel got created.
Before they just stole all their land and just moved in. Oops.
But that initial take did injure the demolitions expert who set it up. And then when William Friedkin looked back on the footage, he was like, "Oh, that's perfect, but I want a few more shots, so can you set it up again, blow it up again?"
Yeah, right. How many more trucks we got to blow up?
Everett, did you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, really, just it's a true spectacle. Like, we use spectacle in a negative way. We use it in a way that it's detracting from. Well, I mean, I think that when people say like a spectacle, you have to see this, you have to see that, like. It does not capture the.
You think of Gravity?
Yeah, that kind of shit.
Yeah, like
where
there's
it's
nothing
like,
else good to say about it, so you say it's a spectacle.
Nothing's real about it. Nothing is like, yeah. And it's like you see these actors like really out in real life on this bridge. It's rickety as fuck, and they definitely look like they're gonna fall to their deaths. And yeah, I think Roy Scheider's a great actor, so he brings a lot of attention to it, and he just seems like he was a coiled wire the entire time. So yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I'm glad whoever recommended this had us watch it. So.
And I'll say, keep your eyes out for the upcoming crowdfunding for our new film, Wages of Wages of Death, Wages of Fear, whatever movie.
Wages of Fear. Yeah.
I just committed my annual tax fraud, and so I should be having $1,700 in a refund that I definitely
Oh my God.
did correctly, and it's real, and it's not going to get seized this year. I had to pay like $5,000 in back taxes last year.
Oh my God.
You're getting a
And guess what?
$1,700 refund, Eggy. That's great news.
Allegedly, I'm not. I usually it gets seized, but Elon, I think if he's doing one thing right, he fired everybody in the government, so nobody's looking this year. They said it's accepted. I'm trying to see all that hit my account. It says it could take 2 weeks, but we'll see what happens.
As long as he fires whatever agent would notice all the fraud we do, it worked out.
And remember that when I did that one thing where I won that $500 on the online casino?
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's coming back this weekend, and I'm currently unbanned, so we might be hitting this weekend, maybe.
Well, can you do it live on camera during the Jewish movie review tomorrow, since we caught it on camera last time?
It should be starting tomorrow at like 10 a.m. our time, so
Yep,
we'll see what
we'll be
happens.
there.
Because right now I'm unbanned. I pulled out $55 today, just a nice little something. So let's keep that unbanned going. Let's get some more money, baby. Let's go.
Do we have any memories of the lost Rusty Cage podcast that we should revive here to reward those who listened all the way to the end of the Sorcerer review?
Well,
We did have an
obviously,
art contest at one point during the podcast.
We did. It was we were speaking on Rusty's recent controversial tweet of the Studio Ghibli AI George Floyd that he tweeted, and people said, "What's this?" So
People were mad at him
drew-
because he was using AI, not because it was disrespectful to a man who was murdered by the fucking police state we live in, but
Right.
because Rusty used AI on the image. So we thought to make this correct, maybe we should all try to draw George Floyd from memory, and then we did that. So I think I know why he doesn't want to post it.
because our art was better than his, and it is what it is. I mean,
It's proof that AI art cannot compete. And Rusty doesn't want that out there because half his videos are fucking AI now. He's really embracing it.
that's right.
Rich, are you,
Yes.
when you see AI art, do you go rabid like a dog? Do you have a more nuanced take? What do you think?
It makes me sad for the state of the world, and it makes me wish that humans would take back their role as the creative power within the world.
Yeah. Well, much like Star Wars versus this movie in theaters, maybe this is like a branching off point of the real artists will keep making real art, like, us three do, and then the slop AI freaks will keep making Star Wars.
Yeah, the second AI shit is in Star Wars, that's when I stopped watching it. So
You guys want to plug anything?
yeah, you can find me on Letterboxd, Revan1138, where I'm still watching Disney shit. Tonight I'm watching the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I'm dreading that. And dreading
Is that
my
Stranger
decision to do this,
Tides, or
but-
is that even another one?
No, it's Dead Man Tell No Tales.
Oh,
It
God.
has Paul McCartney in it as a pirate.
Oh. I remember Endless Jess made a review of that, where he stood in front of a green screen for an hour.
Wow.
Another classic Endless
Movie's probably
Jess
better.
masterpiece. I can't believe Disney made a shitty movie. I couldn't believe it either, Jess. Eggy, what about you?
Well, I'll take this opportunity to mention that this review of William Friedkin's Sorcerer from 1977 today was, in fact, a sponsored video from a viewer like you. If you enjoyed this particular production and you have a crispy $100 bill from abusing online gambling websites such as myself, you say, I need some kino in my life, so you could just go ahead and email Simian, jimmybusiness@gmail.com with your proposal for your $100 sponsored video. That could be a review of music, film, food, literature, whatever is your taste. it will be reviewed, and if approved, we will be happy to make a review just like this for your viewing pleasure and the viewing pleasure of the general public.
And Eggy, somebody who, I guess their PayPal's not working, so they haven't been able to pay it yet, but they're trying to figure it out. Somebody wants to pay us to do a live stream playing The Binding of Isaac, because they want to see me pop my cherry, and they want you there to guide me, and they want it all on live stream. So you don't even have to give us an Is It Kino review or a couch review. You could even recommend a fucking live stream, and there's a good chance we'll say yes.
And with me behind the wheel, I'm gonna tell you like this: not only are you gonna be able to defeat Mom, I bet you could get to defeat Mom's womb as well. So I mean, that was pretty much the whole full base game originally.
Is this Florian's mom?
No, basically QRD Isaac is like an abused child by a super ultra religious like zealot mother. She like keeps him locked
And
in a
it's
box.
not based
or
on
whatever.
Florian's mom? Is it based on Edmund's mom? It's got to be somebody's mom.
Probably.
Fucking young artist making a whole game about how he hates his mom.
Thinking it's and it's also, it's got. I mean, you know, I might be somebody who leans toward the religious side, but
What?
The symbolism and everything that's in the game is so well done that even if it's like lay Christian mom is lay crazy and lay bad. I mean, listen, there's crazy ladies out there.
Yeah,
so
there's
I'm not
lots of
hating
crazy
on it.
Christians out there. There's crazy atheists. I mean, I'm looking into the monitor at one right now. So
I'm not.
there's all kinds of crazy people.
Yeah, so I'm not like I'm not knee jerk about it. I think it's a great game and I put probably 600 hours into it over the last 14 years since I got my first copy. So I'll be happy to be the backseat driver of the game and get you through either.
You and
Womb
Heartsy
2
are
or
addicted,
3 field.
man. Like, I think Heartsy plays it 10 hours a day.
All I'm saying is, I didn't understand it at first either. I played it, I kept dying in like the first level, but my cousin, who's a real gamer, I gave him a copy of it because I got it from like a freeware bundle, like buy it for $1 or something. So I just gave him my copy on a USB drive, and he went crazy on it. He was playing tons of it, and he got me understanding about it. So maybe if I get you understanding about it, you might not be able to put it down. It is one of the most addictive games that's probably come out in the last decade or two, I would say.
Has anybody tried to give the authentic arcade experience at home where you get Binding of Isaac on your computer for free, but every time you want to start a new game, you have to pay $0.25? And then every time you die, you have to pay another $0.25?
I don't think so, but
Wouldn't that make it way more intense if you have to pay every single time? Like every live stream of it would be epic.
Stop playing it as much. Like
quarters and
It's
gambling
addictive.
are actually quarters, gambling, shops, and purchasing and stuff is all something that's built into the game and is a component of the game as well. So, you kind of get.
So it's got its DLC anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not in the version Florian made. That's the one good thing he did is, he's made a fun video game. He didn't care about all the penny pinching. I'm not going to look into Edmund's past, but I got a good prediction about what his Wikipedia says. E-Rich, what's coming up on the Purple Kernel channel?
Well, wait, I think we already released RoboCop.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the Dark Knight Returns, I believe, and I think that's it.
Okay.
So I think everything else has come out.
See you next time, folks.
Bye bye.